others in the chat. Okay, there are a few participants in the chat. All right, just to let everyone know, later on, for those who missed this, will send your teachers a link for the lesson later. Okay, this will be automatically be recorded, but of course normal rules apply, that this is a live lesson. Okay, so don't fool around. Okay, let's take this seriously and make FHBL a unique learning experience. Okay, I'm going to start right now. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Okay, so just to check in, what you should know before I start talking about 5.3 is that what exactly did we cover for 5.1 and 5.2. Okay, so 5.1, you must know this. Okay, and then if you've been following our classes on Fluke, I think you would have submitted some work on finding the distance between 2 points. Okay, of course there are other more advanced questions, but if I give you 2 points, you should be able to tell me the distance between them. Okay, sometimes we say the length of a line segment, but it's the same thing. All right, so just think about it. The distance between 2 points can also be thought of as the length of a line segment. All right, so anyway, just to let you know, for those of you who are watching me through your smartphones, you don't have to have the notes now. Later on, I will show you where to get them. Okay, so for now, just listen. I'll open my browser later and show you where you can pick the notes for the second half. Okay, right now we are just doing a recap. And of course, if there are stream problems, for example, if I'm talking too loud or soft, you can just type in the chat. I'll see it 5 seconds later. Okay, so yeah, this formula should not be new to you. Of course, like what I told my students, you can switch the position around. Like instead of writing x1 minus x2, you can write x2 minus x1, but then you should also write y2 minus y1. Okay, so this is what we covered for 5.1. All right, now let's go on to the next slide. Okay, this was what we have learned recently. This is the gradient of a line, and as you can see, the formula looks slightly different. Okay, this is actually rise over run, the top part indicating the difference, or rather the change in the y, and the bottom part is the change in x. Okay, so this is something you should already know. We've covered it in 5.2. all right, I do sympathize with some students who are unable to do the difficult questions, but at least you should know that this formula exists. Okay, so if I give you 2 points, you can find distance or you can find a gradient. Okay, so this is just a recap. All right, so now time for the new stuff, what you all came here for. Okay, so not before I introduce you the formula first, you can just take a look. All right, what you should know after this live stream is what we call the gradient intercept form. Okay, it's something to remember. It's on the next slide. For 2, I suspect some of you already know. All right, you can just substitute a point into a line, but I'll be covering that later. Okay, and lastly, you've known that if I give you 2 points, you can find either the distance between them or you can find the gradient. The last one is something that you should know by the end of this lesson, and it's new. I'll be going through this. Okay, remember that you can type questions in the chat to ask me. Okay, so this is all the things you should know after I am done my live stream. Okay, so let's begin. All right, so I'll give you some time to look at this slide. Okay, sorry, actually this one should say the gradient intercept form, not the general form. Okay, I think that's the terminology that we are using. Okay, so take a look at this first. This is something that you might have to memorize later, though I hope it'll come naturally. Okay, and there is a little disclaimer over there. Okay, so now this is my first question I'm going to post into the chat. So y equals mx plus c is the gradient intercept form, but if you can see, there's a little disclaimer. It does not work for vertical lines. Okay, maybe I'd like to open this up to the chat. Can anyone tell me why this formula, will not work for vertical lines? Okay, I'll wait for chat to respond. In the meantime, let me just check the analytics. Okay, we don't have that many participants in the chat, but there are 84 watching now. Okay, that was good. We have 84 watching this now. Yes, thank you, Praka. You can type your class in there. Okay, give your class some credit. So Praka has, okay, I don't know who's the penguin guys, but yes, that's right. So that's why there's a disclaimer here. I can't use this for vertical lines because then I wouldn't know what to put for M. Okay, so yes, very good, all of the answers coming in. Okay, so there's a little disclaimer down there. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce you why does it look like that. Okay, it's very easy for us to memorize y equals mx plus c, but today I'm going to offer some explanation. Okay, oh, hello Pinjie. Alright, so now let's think a bit of this for a while. Okay, so let's take an example first. So when we write y equals to mx plus c, right, please note that m and c are constants to be found. Alright, so here is a example. Okay, so in this case, the m is like the coefficient of x, so that's 2 in this case, and in this case the y-intercept is 5. So I'm going to explain why it looks like that. Okay, so it's not so boring when I just say something and then you memorize. There's a reason why it looks like y equals mx plus c. We'll be using this as an example. Okay, you can type in chat if I'm going too fast or too slow. Okay, so I can pace myself. Okay, so this is a slide that you can just read first. Alright, so gradient, okay, we can think of the gradient as like the increase for every 1x. So what does 2 mean? It means that when, you know, there's increase in x by 1, then there's an increase in y by 2. Alright, and you can think of 5 like a fixed starting point. Okay, so okay, so like gradient, you can think of it as like how much the change is when there's a single increase in x, and 5 is like a fixed starting point. Okay, so now here's a better way to think of it. Okay, if you didn't get what I just said, is okay, I'm going to give you a correct analogy. Okay, hi Ing. Okay, I'll try and talk a bit louder. Okay, so think about this. Alright, so let's just say that $2 is the variable cost. Okay, can you see it's like a bike rental where you pay $2 per hour. Okay, you can understand that. And 5 is like a fixed cost for renting a bike. Alright, anyway, yes to Randall's question. Okay, so you can think about these two as like a $2 per hour rental and a $5 flat fee that you just pay. Okay, now let's take a look at the next slide. Okay, so like I said, let's just take a step back from the algebra for a while and see whether you can answer these questions. Alright, so if there's a bike shop that charges a flat fee, okay, when you walk into the bike shop, you charge $5, and they charge $2 per hour. So if someone were to use the bike for 10 hours, what is the total cost you would have to pay? Okay, so let's think about the first question. Hopefully chat can answer this. Okay, so question 1, question 2. How much does Alex pay? Okay, if he has to pay a $5 first, and then $2 for every hour. Okay, I'll wait for chat to answer the questions. Yes, is that Jia Kang is correct? Phoebe is correct. Yes, that's right. Okay, so that's the first question because he paid a flat fee of $5 first, and then for the $10 he used, sorry, not $10. For the 10 hours, he paid $2 per hour, right? So it adds up to 25. You guys got it correct. Alright, the second question is you work backwards. Okay, maybe now you answer the second question. Okay, well done, Faiz. I'm glad to see you here. Serafina as well. Alright, so second question. If let's say he paid $9, then how long did he use the bike for? So we work backwards. Let's see if you can answer the second question in chat. Yes, you guys are correct. Okay, so actually if you can understand this, you are on your way to understanding the equation of a straight line. Okay, so yeah, yes, you guys are correct. First one, he had to pay 25. So the 25 is like the y. And in this case, it's like I tell you $9 is like the y, and then you find the x. Okay, so things are going to be clearer. Alright, so yes. Okay, well done, guys. Okay, okay, hi Klaus, hi Bunfeng. Okay, so good. I'm seeing people in the chat. Okay, good. I see someone with working clouds. Very good. Alright, so now we're going to understand why this is a straight line. Okay, so can you see that the y-intercept here is given by 5? Okay, so this graph actually shows, in this case, like the x-axis is the number of hours, and then the y-axis is how much you pay for the rental. Okay, so if you can see that, oh, my cursor's moving all over. Okay, so just take a look. That's why the 5 is the starting point. It's like the y-intercept, the starting cost, and then after that it goes up by 2. Okay, so this is the link between the equation and the graph. So if our equation of a line is y equals to 2x plus 5, the y-intercept is 5, and we can see the gradient is 2. When you put these two things together, you get a straight line. Okay? Alright. So, okay. Alright, so moving on. By the way, if you have any questions, I think now would be a good time for questions. So you just post them in the chat if you have any questions. Okay, so anyway, here's a short conclusion. This is why it looks like that. Okay, maybe let me just go back to this. Okay, can you see that there's a point A here on my slide? This is the answer to our question just now. Okay, because remember we said that when when we said that if he paid $9, so if like y is 9, we all know that that means he rented the bike for 2 hours, because I take away 5 and then divide by 2. Okay, so can you see that 2 is the input, is the amount of hours, and then 9 is the thing he paid. So you can think of x as the input and y as the output. Alright? Okay, so that's why it looks like that. Okay, I'm just going to pause here for a while. If you can ask questions. You also can give me some feedback on whether I'm going too fast or too slow. Yeah, I really like seeing you guys answer. Brain pain. Okay, so that's Zhen Xiang, right? So Zhen Xiang, if you could, maybe just describe what is it you find difficult, then I'll be able to answer you better. Okay, so this is why a straight line looks like that. And of course, I think someone mentioned in the chat the horizontal lines. Your horizontal lines, right? The gradient is 0. So horizontal lines just look like y equals to a constant. Okay, oh, good morning, Eliora. Nice to see you. Yeah, so you know how horizontal lines, they are y equals to a number, right? So it's actually this formula. We don't see the m and x because m is 0. Okay, so good question. How does one find y-intercept with only 2 coordinates and 1 gradient? That is a brilliant question. Okay, so Zhen Xiang, your question will be answered in about 5 minutes time. Okay, yes, alright, good. Okay, hi Emma, let's move on. Okay, let's just give a short exercise for you. Think about this. How does the graph of this look like? Okay, you can describe it. Okay, I don't want to give you too many hints. Just think about how this graph looks like. Okay, so I'll wait 3 seconds and then I'll show you the answer. Okay, the graph actually looks like this. Okay, so the fact that this number is quite small, so 0.1 or 1 over 10 is got a gentle gradient, and the fact that this number is big, that means the y-intercept is quite large. Okay, so this is how the graph would look like. Okay, so remember, y equals mx plus c. That's what we are learning today. The m is the gradient. Okay, the m is the number that's next to x. So if that's small, that means the gradient is gentle. And the c is the y-intercept. So if you can see from this graph, that's how that graph looks like. Okay, so that's just another example to wrap your head around. Okay, Serafina, if you can just ask me something more specific, I can help you. Okay, so yeah, try and verbalize what you're not sure about, whether it's the equation or things like that. Okay, remember, I'm here to answer your questions. Alright, the only difference is that you hear my voice 5 seconds after I speak. Okay, so Serafina, you can try and ask something more specific. Okay. Alright, so before we move on to the examples in a while, okay, does this point lie on the line? It's just a yes or no question. Okay, so okay, no, x is not the steepness, the m is the steepness. Okay, so I'm not sure who's unknown personal, but it's not the x, it's the m, the number that's next to x. Okay, is it possible to start on the x-axis instead? Okay, maybe that's a question for later. Well, if it's a straight line, it definitely cuts the x-axis. So I'm not it depends on what you mean by start. Okay, so anyway, for these two things, for the first one, okay, let's give you the answer. So actually x is what you input inside. Okay, so the equation of a line is kind of like a formula. We don't say what's x because your x, it depends on what you put inside. Okay, and y is the outcome. So this is just like a formula. Okay, it is a relevant question. Okay, so just to let you know how to check if a point lies on the line. Okay, remember that this x stands for the x coordinate and the y stands for the y coordinate. Okay, what if the line doesn't cross the y-axis? Okay, so think about that for now, Andrew. The only lines that don't ever cross y-axis are vertical lines. Okay, because if you have any line that is not vertical, right, definitely it's going to cut the y-axis at some point. Okay, so that was a great question. But yeah, only vertical lines don't touch the y-axis. Every single line has to touch. Okay, so remember when you substitute stuff in, okay, you replace like x with the x coordinate, and you replace y with the y coordinate, and then if you see whether the equation works, okay, whether the left hand side is the same as the right hand side. All right. Okay, how to get m? That is a great question. Okay, so yeah, Phoebe, I'm going to show you in a moment how to get m. Okay, all right. So before that, okay, so Phoebe, if you want to find m, we use this equation. Okay, so yeah, if you're given 2 points, you use this equation to find m. Okay, all right. Okay, Tia, you can dislike the vid. Okay, but I hope you still listen and then ask questions. Okay, so this is one thing that I have not covered in this PowerPoint slides. We're going to jump to the examples now. Okay, so I haven't answered this question yet. Okay, so okay, sorry, I'm just going to transfer to the examples. Okay, so now let's go to my sketchbook. Okay, so this is example 1. Okay, by the way, I will be going to example 3 and 4 because they are the most relevant. Okay, however, let's just show you how to do these two things. Okay, so the first one, this is not the y equals to mx plus c format. Okay, so just to show you how to do this one. Okay, the gradient intercept format is y equals to mx plus c. Okay, so obviously this one is not in the format yet, so we have to force it into that form. Okay, so first things first, we're going to make y the subject. Okay, so now, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, so can you see that I make y alone first, and I'm going to throw these two over to the other side. Okay, so after that, how do you find y? Okay, you divide everything by -3. Okay, so this is how we get the gradient intercept form. So you know, even if they don't give it in a gradient intercept form, we can get it out by doing some algebra. Okay, and now let's just take a look. Okay, so yes, some of these you can do yourself later. All right, but to answer this question, okay, when the dust settles, okay, so the answer for the first question, okay, hence state the gradient and y-intercept. Actually, yeah, when I answer the first, I kind of answer the second. This number here is the gradient. So this is m, the gradient, and over here is c. Okay, so that's for the first question, but you can figure this out. Okay, I'm actually trying to get to the other examples to teach you how to find the equation of a line. We've only got about 7 more minutes. Okay, but of course you can stay here for a bit longer. All right. Okay, let me just go back to chat. Any questions? Yeah, that's sorry. I forgot to show you where to get this graph. Okay, so bear with me for a while. Okay, so if you all look at the screen, you can see that this is the maths side. Okay, and basically here on Tuesday, okay, there's an announcement from teachers about the uploading and all that. Okay, but this is where you get it from. You all recognize our math side, of course. So can you see the sidebar here? This is where you go. Okay, so yeah, the worksheet is here, but I understand that some of you, because of your sharing with siblings, you're just watching on your smartphones. It's okay, I have the questions there for you, but this is where you get it later to do your uploading. Okay, so yeah, you got questions, just type them in chat. I'll see them later on. Okay, though there may be a delay. Okay, let's take a look at this. Okay, this one is quite easy, so I won't go through it. Okay, it's just like y equals mx plus c. Okay. Okay, so this is the one I want to talk about. Okay, yes. So how do we find the equation of straight line giving the gradient at any one point? All right, so okay, listen up, because this is the important part. It's new, and this is the part that students have the most trouble with. Okay, all right. Can I explain the formula again? Okay, so anyway, Jivan, okay, the equation of a straight line is y equals to mx plus c. If you missed the first part, later this will be on YouTube. Okay, this is called the gradient intercept form. Okay, and remember, when we want the completed equation of a line, actually what happens is that we will need to find out what this number is and what this number is, because m and c are the constants. Okay, x and y, we just leave them as x and y because they are, you know, they are the variables that tell you, oh, this is like a formula. The equation of a line is like a formula. So a formula won't tell you what x or y is. You have to input x and get a y. Okay, so now I'm going to do question A. Alright. Okay, but yeah, do continue asking me questions. These are all good questions. Okay, this line has a gradient of 2 over 5 and passes through the origin. Okay, so we start off with what we know, y equals to m. They told us the gradient m is 2 over 5. So y equals to 2 over 5x. Okay, and if the graph passes through the origin, okay, so let me just write C first, then we just do a little bit of thinking. If the graph passes through the origin, it means that the y-intercept is actually going to be here, right? If the graph passes through the origin with a gradient, then this is like the y-intercept. Okay, it's at 0. So we know that C is 0. Alright, so our answer to the first part, because of this one, was quite easy. The answer is y equals to 2 over 5x plus 0. But of course, I don't write the 0. Okay, so this is my final answer from A. Let me take a look back to chat to see if there are questions. Oh no, so I'm so sorry. I forgot to switch the screen. Oh dear. Alright, thanks for letting me know, Park. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. Okay, yes, I switch back. Okay, sorry. Again. Yes, dear, I'm so sorry. Okay, so when we switch back, okay, I'll explain again. Alright. Okay. Alright, so on this question, it's in your worksheet later on. Okay, so we want to do number 1, right? So it's like this. Okay, because I have, okay, this is the equation of the line, okay, from the beginning, and we have to fill in m and c. So if they tell us the gradient, we'll just put in the gradient here, and then the origin will help us. But for the first one, it's easy because when the graph passes through the origin, okay, you can see that the y-intercept is 0. So in the first case, C is 0. Alright, but yeah, sorry about that. But thank you for letting me know, because B is the one that's more important. Okay, and more difficult. So for A, this is the answer for the first one. Okay, continue typing it in chat. Your feedback is very valuable to me. Okay, I'll stop and read chat once in a while. Yeah, we're at part B now. Okay, so yeah, A is easy, but don't worry, part B is the more crucial one. Okay, so now let's talk about part B. Okay, the line with a gradient and passes through the point. Okay, so again, we start with y equals to mx plus c. Okay, oops. Okay, I erased the wrong thing. Okay, so okay, don't worry, we just need a bit of space. So we are gonna start now. Okay, so we write y equals to, now I'm on B, y equals to minus half x plus c. Okay, this is called the incomplete equation of a line. Why is it not complete? Because I need to find out exactly what C is. Okay, so I'm going to use the last bit of information here. They tell us that this passes through the point 4 and 1. So like what we learned earlier, because I know it passes through this point, then I'm going to substitute x with the number 4, and I'm going to substitute y with the number 1. Okay, so essentially at this point, I'm going to place it inside my line. Okay, so I'm going to replace x with 4, and I'm going to replace y with 1. Okay, and then after that, we will just find out what C is. Okay, so let's solve this. Minus half times 4 is minus 2. So now our equation becomes 1 equals to minus 2 plus C. Okay, and then you all can see that as I shift the minus 2 over, my C equals to 3. Okay, let me stop and read the chat for a while. Okay, yes, it's a simple equation. Alright, so right now I want you to know this is not the answer, because they say find the equation of a straight line. So after we get C right, please don't leave this as your final answer. You'll lose marks. Okay, your final answer for B is y equals to minus half x plus 3. You write out the whole thing fully. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so basically if you have the gradient, and a point on the line, right, you actually can find it. All right, so anyway, just nice, the time is up. Okay, I'm on time if it hadn't been for that little mistake, but I'm just gonna do one more question in example 4. Okay, and then after that I'll take Q&A for a while. All right, do post your questions in chat. Okay, so moving on. Thank you, Mr. Tan. Okay, so there are several cases, but you need to know what happens when they just give you 2 points. Okay, so anyway, spoiler alert, you just have to find the gradient first. It's a 2-part process. Okay, so okay, yeah, just give me I should be done in about 5 more minutes. Okay, and then after that, you all can go off and start your work. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, just to let you know that the last one I think is kind of a trick question because it's a vertical line, but let's talk about A first. Okay, so I'll just do A. If they give you 2 points, how do we find the equation? Well, we need to find the gradient. Okay, so we start with A. So the gradient, okay, of PQ. Okay, so okay, draw the fraction line. So let's call this 0.1 and this 0.2. Okay, you can switch it the other way. It doesn't make a difference. So again, this is actually our 5.2 work. Okay, using the formula. Hold on, let me see chat. Okay, I've got 93 watching now. Okay, so yeah, back to this. Okay, so the gradient of PQ is okay, so this is my 0.1. So 3 minus 1. Okay, students always forget this. So it's actually 3 plus 1. Is 3 minus 1. After that is minus 2 minus 2. Okay, so please write this out very carefully to get the gradient. Okay, so the first we find the gradient of PQ using our 5.2 method. We get 4 over negative 4, which of course simplifies to negative 1. Okay, so now here's the thing that we will use in our y equals to mx plus c. Okay, so now I'm going to write the incomplete equation of the line because I don't have the y-intercept. So to continue our working from here, after part 1 is finished, the equation of the line is y equals to gradient mx. So this gradient is the minus 1. Okay, I got it from that green dot over there. Minus 1x plus c. Of course, I know that we wouldn't write minus 1x, we just write minus x, okay? But I got this from part 1 over here. Alright, so now, okay, we have 2 choices. I need to find out what c is, then I'm done. I can substitute any of the points inside. Okay, so whether I want to pick point number 1 or 2, they will both give me the same answers. Okay, so let me try point P. Okay, so when you need to find C, I repeat, you just pick any one of these points and substitute them in. Okay, let me just read chat for a while before I continue. Okay, I hope you all are okay in chat. Okay, I don't see any new messages. Okay, let me just finish this. So let's say I pick this point. Okay, I could have picked the other point, it give you the same answer. So now I'm going to substitute this inside. Okay, so I'm going to replace x or substitute it with minus 2 because I'm using this point. And I'm going to replace y with 3. Okay, so now my equation is 3 equals to minus 1 times minus 2 is 2 plus c. Okay, so do you realize that if you do this, c is actually just the number 1. Okay, so I know that c equals to 1. Okay, but that's not our final answer. Okay, because now I've got the gradient and the y-intercept. Okay, so if I use these 2 things, then I can write the equation of a line. So my final answer is y equals to minus 1x or minus x plus 1. Okay, so this is the final answer for question A. Okay, so anyway, yeah, sorry, I've overrun a bit. Maybe I'll just stop here, see if there's any questions. And for those of you who want to continue, maybe I can do one more. Okay, let me know what you think in the comments, please. Yeah, I see some message retractors. I hope that you're not typing nasty things. Okay, I got 95 watching now. Alright, so you guys can start doing the worksheet. Okay, again, it's on the our Tree Express Google site. Okay, you can let me know if you can't get there. Okay, alright, Ing, I'll do one more. actually, for those of you who are asking, you can follow the instructions. By the way, in the worksheet, okay, maybe let me just show you, go back to the worksheet. Okay, showing you. Okay, I'm just going back to this for a while. Okay, you can see that at the end, you actually, because today we're learning the subject, right? Can you see that there's only very few questions you have to do? Okay, they're called hinge point questions because your understanding just it kind of hinges on this. Okay, so it's a very, very short thing that you have to do for today after you've gone through the examples. All right. Okay, so yeah, so you all can start doing this if you know what to do. If not, I'm going to go through example 2 now for those of you who want to keep watching. Okay, but it is here on the website. Okay, so now I must remember to switch back. Okay, let's check. Okay, so I'm going to go through example 2, and example 3 is a bit tricky. Okay, all right, so see y'all. For those of you who are confident, go ahead and start on the worksheet first. Okay. Yeah, the B part is nearly the same as 1. Okay. Oh, if gradient is 0, then phi b is just y equals to c. Because y equals to mx plus c, right? Phi b. So if the m is 0, then it affects the x. So it's just y equals to c, and that's a horizontal line. Okay. Alright. Yes, we went through 1. Okay. Alright. So okay, so yeah, see you guys. Those of you who can go and try the worksheet first, I'll just stay here for 5 more minutes with the second example. Okay. Okay, yeah, so off you go do your worksheets. Okay, so now let's talk about B. I already went through A. Okay, so let's talk about B now. Okay, so first thing to do, there's always 2 parts to this. Notice that first part I always find the gradient. Okay, so I'll just write gradient of L2. Okay, so the gradient of L2 is, okay, that's m, right? I draw the big fraction line. Okay, so let me designate this point 1 and point 2. Okay, though I think that we are going to get something special. So let's follow the thing, 5 minus 5. Okay, and then minus 4, because I use this as my first point. So minus 4 minus 1. Okay, so if we calculate this, we see that the bottom is minus 3. But very funny, the top is 0. So if the top is 0, that means that the gradient is 0. Okay, so this line is actually now y equals 0x. But if it's 0x, I don't have to write it out, right? Okay, I can write it out, but I need you all to note that this part actually will disappear. Okay, because it's a 0x. But I can follow the rules. Y equals 0x plus c. Okay, and then I realize that, so this line, okay, if this part disappears, it doesn't matter what x is. Then I look at this line and, because these 2 numbers are the same, this is actually a horizontal line, right? So I have been bamboozled, but actually it's still possible. Okay, because it's just the equation of a horizontal line. So for B, okay, if I've got a point, minus 4, 5 and minus 1, 5, then it's a horizontal line that just cuts the y-axis at 5. Okay, so but I always could substitute this in. Okay, so if you want to just follow the mechanical method, it always works. I can substitute in x equals to minus 4, but it won't matter. I'll substitute y is 5. So I can say that, my y-intercept is 5. So the answer for question B is that y equals to 5. Okay, it's a horizontal line, which is why there is no, there's a gradient. The gradient is 0. Okay, so that's for B. Okay, let me just check chat for a while. Hi, can we write 0? Actually, no, you don't write anything, right? Because 0 times x is 0. So, Dario, you can write it for working. But ultimately, the answer, that whole part will disappear, right? Because 0 times anything is 0. So, to answer Dario's question again, yes, we can write it in working, but it will have to be gone in the final answer. Okay, so potato, how to find gradient? That's actually 5.2. There's a formula for it. Okay, Potato King, whoever you are. Okay, any other questions? The C is actually a trick question because it's a vertical line and therefore doesn't use the y equals mx plus c formula. Okay, maybe for the last one, I just give you the answer. Okay, then I think that's it for the live stream. Okay, so for the last one, if you realize that this would be a vertical line, okay, so if you try and calculate the gradient for C, you'll find that A is undefined. So if your gradient is undefined, remember that it's a vertical line. So vertical lines are always x equals to something, right? So in this case, you can find that A is like minus 3, 5, and minus 3, minus 1. So if you just do a sketching, this is actually the answer for C. Okay, so C is a bit unusual. Alright, but anyway, yeah, thanks. We've come to the end of the live stream. Okay, I believe you still have you've got about 25 minutes left to finish the worksheet and upload to a Floop, at least for my class. Okay, so let me just take some questions before officially closing the stream. Okay, when do we use the y mx plus c and rise over y? Well, it depends on what the question asks, right? If they ask for gradient, use the gradient formula. So to find equation of straight line, yes, gamer PT, you are correct, or Daryl, you're correct. But yeah, after you find the gradient, right, you just need to substitute any points on the line inside. Okay, all right, thank you, Ing, as well. Okay, so 55 watching now. All right, Jeevan, explain the FR. What's FR? Oh, okay. Actually, okay, B and C are kind of trick questions because B is a horizontal line, so the M is 0, and C is a vertical line, so there's no M. Okay, so the last step for B is that you substitute the points in. Okay, but you'll just get C equals to 5, and you can figure it out by looking at the points. Okay, so the formula again. So anyway, Jeevan, I tell you what, so as not to waste your time, because you do have other subjects, I'm going to close this stream soon. I'll show you the formula one last time. Okay, and then after that, yeah, I'll upload this so those of your friends who miss it can watch. Okay, Jeevan, there you go. That's the formula. Okay. How do you get minus 3 for C? Okay, so so many good questions. Aniket, that is an excellent question. Okay, so let me just do a sketch. So Aniket, basically you discover that it's a vertical line when you can't calculate the gradient. Okay, it's because it gives you something over 0. So if you just look at these lines, Aniket, okay, you will find that if you just look at these 2 points, minus 3, 5. So it's like minus 3, 5 would be here, right? Minus 3, 5. Okay, and then minus 3, 1. So you realize that, if this is a vertical line, then the equation of this vertical line is actually x equals to minus 3. Okay, so how did I get it, Aniket? I just look at the x coordinates for the vertical line. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. No, it was a good question, Aniket. Alright. Alright, so that's it. I'm ending the stream now. Okay, go and do the thing. Okay, remember, please remember to look at your individual class announcements for how you upload. For 3A7, it's Floop. Oh, sorry, Aniket. Again. Sorry. Okay, so Aniket, I hope the sketch can explain. Alright, so that's how I know it's x equals to minus 3. I just look at the x coordinates. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Offing the stream now.